Hi guys, and in today's video we're going to look at the latest NGS headline. Hi guys, and in today's video we're going to look at the latest NGS headline that's just dropped for PSO2 New Genesis. So in this one we got some information for the updates for early and late March. We also got some sneak peeks into some upcoming content as well. So we'll go through some of the highlights of that now. So the first thing that it showed off was we're actually going to be getting a new quest type. So this is coming on March the 6th. And basically what this is, it's essentially like a time attack quest where you blow through waves of enemies, and for each enemy that you defeat, you get time extensions. So it's essentially based on killing enemies as fast as possible to keep your time up so that you've got enough time to beat the waves. They've said that there's going to be a couple of different versions of this. So there's one quest for Retem and there's one quest for Caveris, and each of those will also have two versions. So there's an easy version and a hard version. So the idea is that you can practice on the easy version and then try the hard version later on. So it's quite interesting to see the new quest get added to NGS overall. It is also nice to see that this is actually going to be permanent content as well. So this will be accessible from the quest counter all the time. So this is going to be something that sticks with the game. So it's not going to be a limited quest or anything like that. So I think that's a step in the right direction. It's good to see more standing content for NGS for sure. Also for early March, we've also got the ACE ticket Downy Dream. This is a lot of outfits. It's things like pajamas and loungewear. Really casual outfits. So that is coming on March the 6th. So on March 13th, we're getting a new limited quest, which is going to be the Spring 24 quest. Now it's a limited time event, and there is the seasonal lobbies as well for Central City and Caveris. The actual quest itself is a little bit disappointing, so it is basically the spring quest from last year, the only difference being that it now has starless enemies in it. I get the impression this is going to be a common thing going forward with the limited quests for seasonal events. I think we are going to get the same ones more or less year in, year out, just with different changes each year. So, as usual, we've got a seasonal shop with various things to exchange for. There's new emotes, there's new vital gauges and things like that. There is also a new 9-star weapon series getting added to the shop as well, which they've said will also be available at plus 80. So we've got this new limited quest, Flurry of Flowers Cleanup up 24. And this is what I mentioned earlier. So this is essentially a rehash of the one from last year. The only difference now is that it does have starless enemies in it now as well. It does seem to have more megalotics and things like that in it as well. But ultimately it is very similar to the quest we got in 2023. So, like last year, it also ends with Bantha. So we have the Petal Storm Bantha, which obviously have some unique attacks, which I believe were in the one last year. I could be wrong on that, but I think we got these guys last year. There's also a new limited field race as well. So next up we have a Spring 24 special scratch with various weapon camos. So this will replace the existing one. Again, there does seem to be some fairly interesting camos in this. There is a few reskins. We've also got the next mission pass, which has some cool items like Vol Dragon Tail and some new emotes and motion types. This is all kind of par for the course, though. Also, March 13th, we're getting a new duel quest. So this is Duel Quest Stage 4, or Phase 4, and against this new boss called Ring Wedge, which is essentially the starless version of Kelkundo. Now, interestingly, they said in the headline, this will actually be easier than Phase 3. So they've made this one with the intent that you will be able to clear it without Defi capsules. So it's quite an interesting choice, and I think it's a positive choice for Duel Quest to do that. Hopefully they continue on that line of thought going forward, because Duel Quests, as they stand at the minute, are just irritating to do, just because of the amount of preparation you've got to do for them. Also, March 13th, we have a new Star Gem Scratch, which is mainly focused around Aina. So currently we've got the one that features Manon quite heavily, and now we're getting the one for Aina. So Aina's outfit, hairstyles, vital gauges. There's quite a lot of things in this scratch if you are a fan of Aina. So it's essentially the Aina version of the Manon scratch that we've got at the moment. So just a little bit more information on the new quest type. So they've said that basically it's going to be a wave-based quest, and they said that in the easier difficulty there'll be 6 waves, and in the harder difficulty it will go to 7 and beyond. I mean, you can see it says wave 1 out of 10, so I'm assuming it goes to wave 10. They've said that the region that they will occur in changes daily. Now, this I have a little bit of an issue with, because they said it's 4 additional quests, but it's not really, because although it's 4 quests, they're never all active at once. So you'll either have Retem or Enquiries. So essentially it's 2 quests each day. So they're split into combat patrol missions and also exterminations. The combat patrols, they said, are an easier version, which will be the one that goes straight to Wave 6. And the exterminations are the ones that go beyond that. It did look like there was a lot of Gigantics enemies in it, tons of Starless, and they did say it's designed to be very, very difficult. Also in the quest, there is these things called Photon Boost Crates, and these give random abilities and enhancements during the quest that last for a certain amount of time. So I think key to this quest is going to be deciding when to use these boosts for the best advantage. Also, not mentioned in the actual broadcast initially was that we are getting a new revival ticket, so NGS Accessory Revival March 24. So this is going to be all NGS spec accessories from past tickets, as usual. We tend to do this every so often and just revives things from the previous scratches. So if you missed anything on the previous scratches, this is probably your chance to get it. So now moving on to late March. So the first thing we got is shown is the new AC ticket, the Echoes of Idla. I'd always pronounce this Idla, but they pronounce it Idla on the broadcast, so maybe that's the way you pronounce it. So this is going to be on March 19th, and this is, as you may have guessed, is a scratch ticket that basically features Phantasy Star Saga Idla. So this, I may be wrong on this, but I believe this was a mobile game. I could be wrong, but I believe it was a mobile game. I never actually played this, but there's a lot of outfits for various characters from the game. They are also doing a PSO2 spec version of the scratch as well that has ones from the previous collaboration, because there has been a previous one with PSO2 as well. There is also a new outfit for Papona, which is the NGS official VTuber. There's quite a few different hairstyles and accessories and so on. If you're a fan of Idla, or Idla, whichever you want to pronounce it, this is probably a scratch you might be interested in. So next, on March 27th, we're getting a new limited quest, which is Halfa Environmental Testing Zone Cleanup Op. This is basically an 8-player quest in Lucille, where you fight enemies that are based in Aelio and Retem. I found this a bit of a strange one because essentially you already fight Aelio and Retem things in Lucille anyway, along with Enquiries and Steer enemies. So it just kind of feels like you're doing Lucille. Now, there was an interesting thing with this quest, though, which is that at the end, the boss actually is randomized. So I'm assuming there's a set pool it can draw from, but the boss actually is random at the end, which is cool. It's nice to see a little bit of variety in the quests. Next, on March 27th, we've also got a new AC scratch called Easter Festival. This is mainly Gothic and Rabbit-inspired looks. I kind of feel like we've had Gothic stuff over and over again. But if you want more, here's more for you. So next, in the operation report part, we actually got a little letter from the developers, which was explaining their rationale for the new time attack or time extension quests. Essentially, they said that a lot of players had fed back that they wanted more difficult content in the game, and this was their response to that. So obviously, we've already had some more difficult content, things like Malignant Dark Falz Aegis and the original Solus quest. But now we're getting this, which is apparently going to be about equal in difficulty. So that was their main rationale for bringing this kind of content in. So the next thing they mentioned was quite interesting. So recently they've added an ability in NGS where you can add preset skills to weapons that don't have them. They are now looking into allowing you to replace preset skills with a different preset skill. And I believe that they said that this was probably going to be introduced around April time. So essentially what that means is if you get a weapon that's got a fixer on it and it's a fixer that you don't want, you can then look at changing that for a different fixer, which I think is obviously a really good thing to do. I think particularly with how hard some of the items are to get, particularly the, to get Flugel Guards or Rhea, anything that they can do to make getting the right fixer on those weapons is going to be a benefit to everyone, really. So I'm all for that. I think that's a really good idea. So next up, this was actually huge. So they just kind of dropped this out of nowhere. So essentially what they're going to do is they're going to allow you to directly use Endymion capsules as enhancement materials. So if you don't know what that means, so at the moment, Endymion is a capsule that you can only really get by, you basically get the affix off gold prim swords and gold prim armors. And what you do is you turn those weapons into those capsules and then use the capsules to affix to another weapon. So it's a bit of a palaver to do. What they're going to do now is they're actually going to change it so that, first of all, they are going to make Endymion capsules directly usable as enhancement materials. So you'll just be able to use them when you're enhancing a weapon, and it will just automatically use the Endymion capsule and apply the ability, which will give you more experience on your enhancements. The other thing that it said is, as a result of that, there's now there's no reason to have gold prim swords and gold prim armors. So the implication that they made is that it sounds like they are going to be getting rid of the gold prim swords and gold prim armors, which is really, really good. Because honestly, one of the biggest problems with NGS storage at the minute is that you fill so much of your storage with gold prim swords and gold prim armors because you need huge amounts of them for enhancements. Now, yes, you can turn them into Endymio capsules at the moment, which do stack, but then you have to add those Endymio capsules to another weapon and use that weapon to grind with, so it doesn't really save much time or much base. So by doing this, it just allows you to just focus on gathering Endymio capsules instead. So this is a really, really positive change overall and should streamline weapon and armor enhancement a lot. So next up was a really, really interesting announcement. So they actually teased the next super hard difficulty quest. So what I'll do is I'll just let this play through because it's probably the highlight of the whole headline, to be honest. Yeah, so as you can see, so in April, we're getting this new boss called Falz Stallion. Now, it's obviously very, very closely based on Falz Solus. It even says at the start the Planet Breaker returns, so it is obviously a reference to Solus. So this, from what it looks like, appears to just be a much, much harder version of Falz Solus. I'm all for that because, for me, Falz Solus is probably my favourite fight in the whole game. I felt that Malignant Aegis was a bit of a step down from Solus, and I feel that Malignant Aegis is just a bit irritating rather than fun. Whereas Solus, I love that fight. So if Falz Stallion is anything similar to Solus, then I'm all for it. It looks like he uses some kind of stands as well, which is really interesting. It looks like there's like multiple parts of the boss that can attack you, which looks really cool. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So finally, we got some information in the operation report, just a few questions from people. So one question was, they've noticed that if enemies spawn as megalotics in cocoons and other areas, it can affect the results of Arc's records, because obviously megalotics will generally take a bit slightly longer to kill. So they were asking if anything could be done about this. So what they're going to do is they're going to implement a setting where you can make all enemies megalotics. So that's one thing they're going to do for that, so you'll be able to have them on or off. Next, we got a question about the new field that was shown in the December 2023 headline, which was the city, and someone just wanted to know more details about it. They didn't really go into too much detail. What they did announce is that it's going to be about the same size as South Ritem, and it will be split into 3 different biomes. On launch, they said that 2 of those biomes will be available, so the 3rd one will be announced later on. And they said there'll be a variety of enemies. I said it'll be mainly Starless, but there will be other new enemies there as well. And they also said it will be split into exploration and combat zones as well. So it does kind of sound like it's going to be a new field, just on maybe a smaller scale than the other regions. So it's interesting to see. I do want to see more on this, because I do feel like this is one of the big things that's getting people to stick with NGS at the moment. So I would like them to drip feed us a little bit more about this, just to try and keep the players interested. We did get this really, really funny question as well, where someone was saying, where can I post my comments and requests so they can be reflected in the game's improvements and corrections? And their short answer essentially was, you can't. So what they basically said is, we read your comments after the stream, and it was quite deflective, the answer, really, I thought. They sort of encouraged people to post on Twitter with #NGS headline and so on, and said that they do read some of the stream comments as well. But I still do think it would be a good practice for Sega to introduce like a feedback form on the website, just a simple player feedback form, just so players can feel like they can give honest feedback about the game, or even just do something like player surveys every so often. Loads of other games do it. It'd be really, really useful for Sega to do this, just so they can gauge the player opinion, because I'm not convinced that they really know what the players are wanting at the moment. It's become apparent in the last couple of headlines that there is this bit of a disconnect between what SEGA are giving us and what players actually want. So I do think they need to do something like a survey just to get an idea of what the player base are actually after. And then just to round out this headline, we've got a couple of things announced. So in March, well, actually starting on the 28th of February, we're getting a couple of campaigns. So we're getting a 150% rare drop boost in Caveris exploration and combat sectors. We're also getting a rare series exchange support campaign. And what this is you can get exchange materials to exchange for a 10-star rare weapon. So essentially, if you don't have a rare weapon, you will after this. We're also improving PSO2 day boost rates for both regular PSO2 day and premium PSO2 day. So it's actually going to increase to 50% experience boost and 100% rare drop boost. I still don't think that'll make a huge difference because honestly, I find that rare drop campaigns don't tend to make much of a difference in NGS overall. But it's nice that they're doing it at least. There is also a PSO2 Global 4th Anniversary campaign, so anyone that logs in from the 6th of March onwards will get some items to commemorate the 4th anniversary. So there's a Physio Dominatio weapon camo, 2 Master Cubes, some 20% augmentation success rates, some preset skill enhanced success rates, add preset skills level 1, 10 special scratch tickets, and 200 SG. So definitely make sure you log in to get those, particularly for the SG. I think the SG is probably the big one there. Finally, the last thing we got an announcement of a new collaboration. So they're going to be collaborating with the Rurouni Kenshin TV anime. So all they've shown so far is a collab visual just showing Glenn, and they did a brief update of what Rurouni Kenshin is. They've said there'll obviously be a lot of things like weapon camos, avatar items, motion changes, and so on. I would imagine this will get announced in the next few months. So you've got that to look forward to if you're into Rurouni Kenshin. And that was more or less it for the headline, really. They announced that the next one's going to be on the 26th of March, and we'll cover mainly the April updates. Overall, I thought it was kind of an average headline, really. It was kind of run-of-the-mill, so we got the usual limited quests, we got the usual AC scratch tickets that we get every time. It was really, really nice to see the new standing content, so the time extension quests. I'm generally not a huge fan of time attack quests overall, but anything that is permanent content for NGS I'm all for, because that's one of the big problems with NGS at the moment. It needs more permanent content that you can keep going back to. That's why I really, really like the Rage Odd Gorge at the moment, because it's content that's always going to be there. It's active, and it's actually quite fun to do. Overall, I feel that the game is, I think it's on the right path overall, but I do feel like they do need to listen to the player base a bit more. And I do feel like there needs to be, honestly, a bit more effort with some of the updates, because I do feel that we need a little bit more content than this. It does feel a little bit like a drip feed overall. Overall, though, I would say it's reasonably good. I'm excited for the new Dark Falz when that arrives in April, and the new time extension quest should be fun as well. The rest of the stuff, like the new Duel quest, I'll probably try it out. I don't see it being fantastic, but I'll give it a shot and see what it's like. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking or subscribing to the channel. We've also recently opened channel memberships and super chats and super thanks, so if you want to do that, by all means. You can also follow me on Twitter, which is at Section Skyline, and I tend to post on there whenever I do a new upload or whenever I go live. I also do live stream on Sundays on YouTube as well, which is usually a mix of either PSO, PSU, or NGS. So feel free to drop by there if you're interested. But for now, I'll end this one there. Any questions or anything, or any comments, just leave them below, and I'll try and answer what I can. But for the meantime, I'll see you guys in the next one.